Yo, what is up guys? It's me, Zach Lee, and welcome back to SDC, the NBA talk show. We talk about everything that went on the previous day in the world of basketball. And the NBA Draft Combine started this Tuesday and will end Sunday. And it's basically this camp where draft prospects go to have their abilities tested, or their physical abilities and gifts tested. You know, how much they can bench, how high they can jump, how fast they can run, stuff like that. And then at the end, they are ranked based upon how they performed. With that in mind, Kevin Durant, who once participated in the Combine before he was drafted, was asked for his thoughts and opinions on the Draft Combine, as well as any advice to the rookies who are going to do it this year. And let's just say that he had nothing good to say about it at all. I remember it like it was yesterday. All these strength coaches were laughed at me. They were giggling with each other that I couldn't lift 185 pounds. And I was like, all right, keep laughing, keep laughing. It was a funny thing because I was the only one that couldn't lift it and I was struggling to lift it. I was embarrassed at that point, but I'm like, give me a basketball, please give me a ball. I knew nobody in the draft could guard me one-on-one. I knew that for sure. I knew that, and I knew that you didn't need to bench press to lift a basketball up. And I knew this wasn't football where that stuff matters. I knew as a basketball player, I had a lot of skill, more skill than anybody in the draft. And I knew that if I worked as hard as I could, then that stuff wouldn't matter at the end of the day. It still doesn't matter. I was ranked the last person in camp drill-wise. I was the worst player, and the first player didn't get drafted. That tells you a lot about the significance of that stuff. I was the number 2 pick and I can lift 185 pounds. That shows you that basketball really isn't that type of sport. Do you even lift, bro? Nah, but I hoop though, is basically what Durant said. And after getting this insight on the Combine, I completely agree with Durant. It does kind of seem pointless. You know, it's not about how much you can lift or how high you can jump, how fast you can run. If you can do any one of those things great during the game, that's fantastic. If you're like John Wall, who is lightning fast and can use his speed in an effective way, good for you. But if you're just fast and can't control it on the court, then what's the point? If you're super strong and can use your strength on the court like LeBron, then that's great. If not, what's the point? If you can jump really high and put people through the rim like Vince Carter, fantastic. If not, so what? You know, basketball is a sport of skill. At the end of the day, if you're not able to make plays on offense or on defense, no amount of strength, speed, or athleticism will matter once the game starts. And KD also kind of talked about this too, when he said, you could look at vertical, but how much can you use that on a basketball set? You could be the highest jumper, but if you don't use that in a basketball game, you don't show your athleticism, you stay grounded all the time, then it's really not doing you any good. Play one-on-one and 5-on-5. That's how you really see who the best basketball players are. Yo, this man KD is out here spitting straight facts, like for real, straight facts. Playing the game is the only way you can tell how equipped someone is at playing the game. And with that, he gave just a bit of advice to the top prospects. You know, keep that in mind, to the top prospects of this year's draft classes and for years to come. Stay your butt at home and work on getting better in your own time. If there are any non-top prospects out there who are taking this message to heart, remember this isn't for you. I said top prospects because they're the ones who know they're going to go top 5 or top 10 or something like that. You know, everyone already knows they can play and what their strengths are. There just isn't any point in measuring how much they can bench or how high they can jump or how fast they can run. If you're a draft prospect that's projected to go late in the first or second round, then you could use this draft combine to possibly boost your draft stock and get a higher pick. So they're the ones that should be attending. I mean, it wouldn't be a good look if you're projected to be drafted number 59 and then you skip the combine, because at that point, you could just forget about being drafted altogether. Anyways though, what KD said here was 100% correct. He couldn't bench 185 pounds back then. So what? I mean, so what if he couldn't even do it now? The man is a baller. One of the most skilled players the NBA has ever seen. Can go out there on the court and drop about 30 plus every night if he wanted to. He won an MVP, but they laughed at him for not being able to bench 185 pounds. Do I live, bro? Nah, but I hoop though. Alright, so you guys remember maybe about a week or so ago when I covered the story about Porzingis possibly being traded? Yeah, so there is a bit of an update on Porzingis' side. So let's start with the tweet that he released with the Clippers and the smiley faces. Now he claims that his Twitter was hacked and the hacker posted that, and he gave his recently used emojis as proof. Now I do believe you, Porzingis, but recently used emojis aren't proof of anything. I mean, how hard would it be to press a bunch of random emojis so those pop up as your recent emojis? Anyways, Porzingis' brother spoke up yesterday and revealed to us what Porzingis told him. And Porzingis said that if he is traded, he will play out the rest of his contract and then test free agency. As for the Knicks, his brother said this: Chris wants to stay in New York. He feels at home there. There's no question about it. The only thing he wants is for the Knicks to create an environment where he can develop and grow as a player and win. You know, seems pretty freaking straightforward. And this is what we all knew Porzingis wanted, which is basically not to be a part of a dysfunctional mess where it's hard to grow, develop, and win. Get some young talent, Phil. Get some young talent and stop trying to force this messed up triangle down their throat. It's that simple. Let the players grow, let the players develop, and then they will start to win. So Kawhi Leonard, of course, suffered an ankle injury during Game 5 against the Rockets. You know, Popovich took him out later in the fourth quarter and he never saw the court again. After the game though, he said that he will be playing in Game 6, but that may no longer be the case, as the Spurs have now listed Leonard as questionable before tonight's Game 6, which is great news for Rockets fans. And believe it or not, it could be good news for Spurs fans as well, because as much as you will like to see Kawhi out there tonight, it just might not be worth it. See, ankle injuries aren't the most serious thing as long as it's just a sprain or something like that. But it's not something that you want to play on either. I mean, the more you play on it, the worse it will get. And if I'm the Spurs, I'd rather have the possibility of losing without Kawhi on the court so he can rest in preparation for a possible Game 7 than to put them out there at less than 100%, possibly still lose, and then his ankle is even worse for Game 7 to the point where he might not be able to play. But let's be real here, the Rockets know that Kawhi Leonard has a bum ankle, and they will try to expose that if he is on the court. You know, they'll go at him all night long, which would not be a good thing at all. Popovich will probably wind up having to pull him from the game anyways. So if Kawhi isn't at 100% and has even the slightest bit of discomfort still with his ankle, it will be for the best if the Spurs were to go this game without him. And it's not like the Spurs are helpless without him. They won the last game that went into overtime even though Kawhi sat out, and Popovich had already proven that no matter who is on the court, the Spurs don't change. To them, Kawhi is kind of like the icing on the cake. As for the Rockets though, I expect a monster game out of James Harden tonight. Like, I expect him to go off after he was basically the reason they lost Game 5. Look, I love Harden as a player, but he cost Houston that game with some questionable decisions that led to turnovers down the stretch. So he knows that he could very well be the MVP and that all eyes will be on him these next 2 games. He will not allow himself to have another performance like that, but he just needs to stop overthinking things. Don't force anything, just go out there and ball out, which is going to lead us to something a bit different. Since from now on, there will only be 1 game per day, I'm gonna do a segment like this the day before every game, where I talk about the game and the series. Then instead of the player of the day, I ask you guys who you think is going to win the game. And you guys can go vote for the Spurs or the Rockets for Game 6 tonight. You know, you can vote by clicking that little card in the top right corner of the video that just popped up. Yes, even if you are on mobile. As for what happened in yesterday's game though, Game 5 of the Celtics vs Wizards series, Washington had all the momentum coming into this one after their Game 4 blowout win when they went on that 26-0 run in the third quarter. And Kelly Oubre was also able to play tonight after serving out his 1-game suspension for trying to fight Kelly Olynyk in Game 3. And as you can expect, he didn't get the warmest of receptions from the Boston crowd. And as for stopping Boston, it was clear what Washington's game plan was: to get the ball out of Isaiah Thomas's hands, don't let him get going, and make somebody else step up and make plays. Seems pretty simple, seems pretty smart, seems pretty straightforward, and that's what they did last night. They dared the other Celtics players to step up, and that's exactly what Jay Crowder, Al Horford, and Avery Bradley did. They all stepped up on the offensive end last night. You know, Crowder scoring 18, Horford doing his thing with 19.7 assists and 6 rebounds, and most importantly of all, that man Avery Bradley waking up offensively after a couple of horrible offensive games in Washington as he erupted for 29 points on 12 of 19 shooting. Yo, that's exactly what Boston needs. Guys who can take the pressure off Thomas so he doesn't have to be their entire offensive system. Because while that might work during the regular season, during the playoffs that ain't gonna fly. And the Celtics got the 123-101 win. John Wall had 21 for the Wizards, and the series will now shift back to Washington, where the Wizards play like a completely different team. But if they want to have any hopes of winning the series though, they will have to learn to win on the road in Game 7. If there is a Game 7, of course. Yesterday, after Gordon Hayward said he was unsure as to whether or not he would opt out of his current contract, I asked you guys if you think he would stay and take less money to help the team get better. To which you guys said, I feel as though Hayward is assessing his options. He's had a great year and I feel like he's torn between growing with the Jazz or maximizing his potential. I think Hayward would take less money for the benefit of the team. He's just that kind of person. Honestly, I think he's willing to ride out the last year of his contract to get better players. He seems like that humble guy that'll take less money for the better of the team. A lot of people feel that Hayward gives off those good guy vibes, and he does. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he wound up playing with the Jazz his entire career, as long as they show him that they're willing to do what it takes to compete. Because at the end of the day, what more could you ask out of the organization that drafted you? And the Jazz have done a fairly good job of it so far, compared to some other franchises who have had franchise players, but never even got close to the playoffs. Which is going to lead us to today's question of the day. What do you think about the draft combine? Do you agree or disagree with Katie's comments? Let me hear your opinion down in the comment section below, but other than that, thank you once again for watching this video. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, don't forget to leave a like on it and subscribe to stay up to date with everything that's going on in the NBA on a daily basis. And until tomorrow, keep getting the Bucks Team SDC, and I'm out of here. Peace!